could we not have adopted some of these ideas? Why did we not, sort of?
I think as the ruling elite found it easier to persist with colonial policies that bring about changes.
Yes.
As you know, take Punjab. I mean, why was Punjabi not adopted, the mother tongue of this land? They continued the colonial policy of Urdu. Of course, Urdu is essential, but I don't see why the children. I mean, Noam Chomsky has made it very plain, and as have other linguists, that teaching the child in their own mother tongue is essential.
Correct.
But when you start them with English, with Urdu, which is not what they speak at home, you create a cognitive dissonance.
That's right, exactly. So Ghalib, and then of course Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, his favorite, his pupil, his colleague, his contemporary, and Shibli Rahman, you already mentioned.
Shibli was a more difficult person to, but there's no question that he's part of the Aligarh project.
Yeah.
For a while, before he joins the Nadwatul Ulum. But people like Zakaullah, who I think has been marginalized.
Yes.
Deputy Nazir Ahmad, of course, his Miratul Urus is very popular. But I chose to work on something else.
Ibnul Waqt,
which I think is a fascinating study of attitudes towards modernity.
Correct, exactly. And even Deputy Nazir Ahmad, who's a civil servant, who's acquainted with the Western ways, with the old colonial ways. I mean, even I feel he's engaging with the colonial movement, but he's also trying to as I read in your book, is that he's trying to, in a way, respond and say that, we have a particular point of view as well. There's a subtle...
I don't know whether you remember that Deputy Nazir Ahmad's father was very conservative and didn't want his son to learn English. And so Deputy Nazir Ahmad learned English much later in life.
That's right.
So there is that he was basically educated by Maulvis, and he was married into a Maulvi family.
That's right.
And yet he chose to write books that not only engaged with, obviously he was influenced by the Victorian novel.
Correct.
But when he took ideas, his work is didactic. He is trying to reach, this is very much part of the Aligarh project.
Correct. It is very much part of that. But, Syed Ahmad Khan's focus on education, on English language, because, time and again he has said, Angrezi padhiye, seekhiye, whatever. So, all these figures, by the time we are entering the 20th century, are shaping some of the the ideas and, this marginalized, battered community.
Take the Musaddas-e-Hali.
Yes.
The Musaddas-e-Hali is not an apologetic work. It's a critical work of Muslims, of how Muslims have degenerated. The entire work is sort of criticizing the Musliman, but also giving some hope by drawing upon the past.
Right.
So I think that those projects need to be taken seriously. What was he trying to do? He was trying to get Muslims to keep up with the times, the new knowledge systems, because he said that, it's your tassub, it's your bigotry that prevents your prejudice.
Right.
You're not taking on this. It's only about taking back what we gave them.
Right.
So we've gone into darkness, but now Europe is on the rise. But let's take this knowledge is not sort of racialized. Knowledge is cumulative.
Cumulative, exactly. And then we get into this part of early 20th century where then poets and thinkers like Iqbal are also, Iqbal's opus, as you said it at a talk recently, that it's a lifetime project to study.
Yes, I don't even think a lifetime is enough to truly understand every aspect of Iqbal. After reading his Reconstruction lectures, which I have used in earlier works, the one theme that always fascinated me was his concept of time. And so since in this book I begin with the transcreation of religion after 1857, and then look at what Muslims did with the past or with the writing of history, partly to contest colonial accounts, and also to encourage the younger generation. It was interesting how they were dealing with the writing of history. there I could bring in time, because time is very important in history. Iqbal's concept of time is the main thrust.
It's non-linear.
Non-linear.
Yeah.
I mean, he says that that's there. Mechanical serial time is there. But he says that you need, the concept of time he talks about is pure duration, for which he says you need an effective self as opposed to a efficient self, which is for the mechanical serial time.
Yes.
So don't get lost in serial time.
Serial time.
Try to understand things.
And also this concept of continuous change.
That's right.
You know?
That the world is constantly changing, the universe is constantly changing. And so to say that things are static, that is, and sadly, under colonial influence, our intelligentsia, a good portion of them believe that, I mean, there are the very conservative ones who think that the best in Islam, if you want to be really Muslim, you need to go back to the 7th century.
Yeah.
Not move forward.
Correct.
So I think Iqbal is giving a very different concept, that you can have pure duration and yet move forward and be part of constant creation.
Constant creation. And then Iqbal obviously represents this particular moment. I mean, I think, of course, beyond poetry and philosophical musings, the whole, you mentioned the lectures, even in terms of reinterpreting some of the jurisprudence that we are stuck with.
He's quite critical of the jurisprudence.
Yes,
I mean, you know, because he feels that has been the cause of the stagnation that has taken place.
Right.
So I think in that sense, Iqbal is the Roshan Khayal par excellence.
Par excellence, exactly. And then you obviously, the third part of your book looks at Iqbal's in a way, pupil, Sadiq Khan, the great painter.
Yeah.
I mean, the best that we've had,
he's a controversial figure. I don't think everybody agrees that he's the best. I think they find his choice of themes problematic. When he has cactus growing out of heads, he's making a point.
He's making a point.
People don't like people like to see pretty things. I'm not there to paint pretty things.
Exactly. And this range.
Yeah.
The murals, the subjects, the poetics of his.
Plus, he was a very literary character. I mean, he wrote poetry that you may not think is the best, but clearly it informed his paintings.
It did. And
he was a great calligraphist.
Yes, and his engagement with the West.
And the problem with Sadiq Khan's reception in this country is that the so-called liberals of this country find him problematic because he was seen as doing calligraphy, but what people don't realize is that he was doing calligraphy long before Ziaul Haq appeared on the scene.
Yes, exactly.
So that's really crucial.
That's exactly, and I think we have to discard the word liberal because I'm going to adopt Roshan Khayal.
Liberalism is quite a problematic.
Yeah,
very problematic.
And I want to go back there because you see the introduction, the first part of your book. And throughout, there's a theme where you say that the so-called West and the...
These are constructs.
Constructs.
I mean, so as I was pointing out in our conversation the other day, we talk about Christianity. Is it a Western religion or is it an Eastern religion?
That's right.
So, I mean, and to say that Muslims, I mean, are there no Muslims in the so-called West? So I do think that these are constructs aimed to perpetuate certain points of views. Whereas, and they ignore the cross-fertilization that is part of human history of knowledge.
Right, exactly. And I think that is where your work, I suppose, brings an antidote because, often in Pakistan also, and to some extent in India, whenever people are thinking, we think in terms of the colonial frameworks, even now.
But even now, take South Asian historiography. It's commonplace for very good scholars to first engage with the West, with Western thought.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have, and part of that is because they have no choice, because that's the language they're familiar with. And the cutting off the bonds with the Persianate world is problematic. That's why I believe, and say all the time, that modern historians like myself need to engage with early modern historians because who have an expertise in Persian or Arabic. Because those were the things that did influence individuals like Azakaullah or even Nazir Ahmad. These were all people who knew Persian and Arabic.
Yes.
So, we have been deprived of them.
Yes,
completely.
Exactly. I mean, now yours is an intellectual history or a magisterial review of this era and of these people. But of course, I'm going a little beyond that. So, Dr. Jalal, what happened then after 1947? I think you address it partially, because you've done it in your other works. So what happens, because there's this whole tradition of thinking, of engaging with ideas, of opening, reinterpreting some narrow jurisprudential ideas.
I think it's the creeping authoritarianism that takes place in the post-colonial period, where there's a desire to not just control the instruments of coercion, to use a barbarian idea, but also control the frontiers of intellectual thought. So you're trying to control the mind. The nation state tries to, or rather the elite who are dominant in the nation state try to control the way people are thinking. So I do think that is what led to steady closing of the mind, and that with outright military authoritarianism, of course, there were curbs on thought. But what I find remarkable is that despite those curbs, we still have some rather spectacular examples of Roshan Khayali. Take Faiz Ahmed Faiz, take Sabti Hassan.
Right.
So I think there's always been, and even today, you see so many people still presenting a point of view, but they're not mainstream because the state has shifted. The state prefers to promote a particular very sort of obscurantist or conservative view on what religion is in spaces and society.
And what happened in India? There's a big, as you know, it's the biggest minority, perhaps the biggest minority in the world, if you look at the Muslim minority. So,
there are, again, people in India. I think it's important to remind you, the listeners, that Islam is an interpretive religion. And I said, Muslims are, it's an interpretive community. So you have people in India too who are more open-minded, expansive. And then there are those who are more insular. If you take the Shahi Imam and compare them to a myriad others who have written. So, of course, this struggle has always continued. But in India, where the difference is that unlike Pakistan, where the state has chosen, certainly after Zia, a particular version of Islam, the state hasn't done that in India, which leaves more space, potentially, for Indian Muslims to engage with ideas that are more...
Correct. But, yes, it creates more space, but on the other hand, the stereotyping of Indian Muslims, because if we look in the mainstream, they are fossilized, they are uneducated, they are poor, they're stuck in their own ways, 14th century, that's a common refrain. But what I'm really intrigued, and I think that's a subject that I want to really investigate, is that what potential the power of these ideas lies, because it's very much part of a lived tradition. We recite Ghalib every day, we look at Faiz. So how powerful are these influences for our present and for our future? Because, if we want to reimagine Pakistan, for that matter, India as well, there's a whole, necessity to go back to our own tradition.
I think there's a real need for critical thinking. And I think that's what has been curbed through successive bouts with authoritarianism. There's been an attempt to create an ideology without any roots in history, which sort of supports the state's narratives. So that has been the real problem, and the fact that your educational system promotes rote learning as opposed to creative thinking. We are producing a generation after generation that can't think out of the box, and those who do get sidelined.
Sidelined or they leave.
Or they have to leave because there's no place for them. That's the sad part.
That's the sad part. So education system again and again emerges as that. And finally, at the end, I would like you to maybe suggest from your book one or two texts that our viewers, especially the younger ones, who should, which author or poet or
if you are not comfortable with Urdu, because one of the problems with our generation, younger generation, is that, I heard this all the time at Lungs where I taught in the previous years, Madam, we don't read Urdu. So what do you read? I find that remarkable. So for those who are English medium, they should read the likes of Sayyid Amir Ali's The Spirit of Islam. I mean, it's quite a remarkable piece of work.
Yes.
Then I would say that, those who have more of a literary bent, I strongly encourage them to read literature from the late 19th, early 20th century. People like Nazir Ahmad, who is didactic, but Abdul Halim Sharar is quite fantastic.
Yes.
Some of his, he wrote historical novels. But he also wrote other novels, which I think are quite interesting. And he did very well. And he also ran a newspaper, a journal. So I think we need to, for those who can read Urdu, should read people in the original.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jalal.